start a project, I will just go say File, New Project, create the Java application, and again, the demonstration's sake, as we just started to talk about files, directories, and other interesting information about the file system, this will be just a console application, and I will name this Week 12. Week 12 is going to be the project today, and hopefully I'll just recycle this project, and I will create the main app class for my application, right? And we'll create this project, and here's my initial code here, right? So so let me just go here and if I go to go here and we'll maybe create string, let's say full path, right? Full path equals something. If I wanted to do something like this, I can go to my Windows Explorer, go to my computer, look at my drive, look at my subdirectories here, and this is, and I can go to backup right here, right? So I can just go here and say, okay, this is my path, and then I can paste this in, right? So I can just say, paste this in. Look what happens in the code. NetBeans is trying to be smart enough to say that, remember, there are escape characters, part of Java string, and escape characters begin with backslashes, right? And so this is the backslashes. And so when you paste in a path from from a Windows native path, which includes the backslashes, you see how NetBeans automatically makes them double backslash. So this can be completely eliminated if you use just forward slashes, and this is highly advisable. So don't use backslashes. You can very successfully use forward slashes in specifying your paths, right? And once again, we did this little discussion. This part of our discussion started that C colon is the name of the volume on Windows. This is Windows 7 machine that I'm running here. So if I wanted to specify a full path to the subdirectory name backup, this is the way it's going to look like, right? At the same time, if I found out where my current directory is, if I specify something like this, we'll say relative, right? Relative path. Maybe I should use conventional names here. Full path, a relative path. A relative path would look like this, right? Say backup, restore. I don't know, restore may be another subdirectory that's out there. So this is how the relative path would look like, and assuming that it's the correct path relative to the current subdirectory. And so it's interesting if we can find out what the current directory is and start from that point on. Okay, so these are our introductional type of material regarding the paths. But the path class provides information about the location of files and directories, and essentially there are two classes that we have to work with. First of all, there's a static method of the paths class, paths plural, a version, plural name, right, that you can say get, right? So in order for me to get the path, right here, I can say that if I wanted to get the actual path, what I need to do is I need to say paths, get, and then specify my full path, right? Just like that, full path, right there. Okay, get full path. However, of course, this main app.java is kind of clueless about what this is, so we can just say fix imports, and what it's going to do is going to give us the paths, and there's still path. fix imports. The problem is that I need to name it, and I need to name it path. Okay. So this is how, for now, I'll just get rid of my relative path and use this full path. And full path also needs to be spelled correctly, right? So this gives me access to the path. So as you can see, the path typically originates as the string, which includes the series of elements which you can use to construct the path, all right? And this is, backup is actually a directory in my system. It's not a file. It's a directory under another directory, under the root directory, but the full path includes all of these elements, and as you can see, I'm using some forward slashes and the name of the drive. So I pass this string to paths get, which is a static method, and this gives me back the path object, right? So how useful is this path object? Let's look it up. When you obtain the path, and the interface of the path object will give you the file name. You can parse and find a specific element of the path, such as subdirectories. You can get the name, which is just the last element of the path. You can get the count, how many elements are there. You can find out what the parent is. You can find out what the root, what is the path to the root. And you can convert to absolute path, which will give you the current directory. So let's see that if I'm running this application, my challenge is instead of using this full path and path, let's get back to this in a second. So we'll say what is my current directory, right? So I want to find out what is my current directory. So that's the question I want to answer. Then I will construct. What I can do is I can say path equals path get, and instead of using full path, just use a single dot. It's convention. There is a convention on both Windows systems and Unix-like systems like Linux and Unix and Mac, of course, is that the single dot indicates a shortcut to the relative path to the current directory. So now if I say system.out.print, print line perhaps, right? Print line, and if I wanted to print path, and we'll say to absolute, right? To absolute path, right? So we can try this, and right here it again returns a path, right? So because this call to absolute path converts my current path to an absolute path, what I need to do is I need to convert it to string, right? I need to convert it to string in order to be able to say what my current path is. So let's try running this. If I run this, okay, so it basically tells me your current path is C, Igor Projects, Java, C257, week 12, and it also keeps the dot at the end indicating that this is your current directory. That's not bad, right? So all of a sudden, without even knowing where I am, all of a sudden by running this, I realized that, wait a minute, I actually can do this. And let's just give this another try, just real quick. Just say clean and build, So remember, when I build this, it will allow me to, it will create the jar file, which will allow me to execute my Java program on the command line using the jar file, which is the compiled archive of all classes. So now if I go to my command prompt and run this from the command prompt, of course, now it prints this path, which is printing C users VK, right? So this is not the same compared when we ran it from our integrated development environment. So this is another example where executing from within your integrated development environment as opposed to running it somewhere else makes a difference. For instance, your current directory, when you're just starting your program, will be different.